A pleasant good evening, good morning, good night to wherever you are on this beautiful planet that we call home, the planet Earth. My name is Alvin Morton, and I shall be your host and presenter today. A little bit about who I am. I joined OneLife as an independent marketing associate back in April of 2017 and was one of the earliest OneAcademy presenters. Since then, I have participated in OneAcademy trainings, and I have also done, quite a few OneLife presentations. I am an industrial engineering graduate from the University of the West Indies, and I also hold an MBA from the Heriot-Watt University and PMP, Project Management Professional Designation from the Project Management Institute. I am married. I'm the husband of one wife with two daughters and reside with my family in Lendo Village, Chaguanas, where this transmission is occurring, or from where this transmission is occurring. One of my favorite quotes: "It is not the movement of the clock that produces the newness of life. It is the movement in your mind." And I hope to be able, in some way, shape, or form, to move the minds of those attending this presentation under the sound of my voice and beyond. So, permit me to share my screen, and in the words of one of my favorite presenters, let's get after it. One life, together for more. This is what we will be talking about, but I must also mention that this information contained herein and the dispensed is not designed to be a source of financial information, nor should it be construed as such. OneLife is not an investment company. It is, however, a place where information can be used as part of your due diligence process. And these disclaimers have become even more important, ladies and gentlemen, simply because of recent disclosures and publications made by the authorities. We all know what we are referring to, the quote unquote pyramid schemes. And I actually thought that this might be a very useful topic to have as part of a OneAcademy session at a future opportunity. I do have an MBA, Master of Business Administration, and these are some of the courses that were studied: marketing, strategic planning, all of the typical areas that are covered by any person doing an MBA. Some courses carry more of these things, some carry less. The point of this is many of this information, if not all, is now on a digital platform or in a digital way. And it represents a change of the paradigm. COVID-19 has accelerated this, so many of our schools now are going to become online universities. And we have the privilege of, in the OneLife network, having been among the earliest of these institutions, so to speak. I was in a meeting some weeks ago where I was the only person who prior to COVID-19 knew about Zoom. And to think that I have been using Zoom through this OneAcademy and OneLife network since 2017. Could you imagine? But it represents a movement in my mind. It represents a change in the mindset. One of the things that is always going to be constant in this life is change. And if it is not hardwired into our operating systems, it will be negative. It will not propel us, and it will not be purposeful. We need to examine our operating systems to ensure that they are positive, propulsive, and purposeful, because, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, fellow OneAcademites, fellow OneLife networkers, paradigms are always responsible for your results. And contrary to popular opinion, the voice of the people is not the voice of God. In fact, according to Alcoin, somewhere in the year 798, we should not believe those people who consistently say the voice of the people is the voice of God, since the riotousness of the crowd is almost always close to insanity. Warren Buffett always goes against the ways of the crowd. Dr. Wayne Dyer, when he was on this planet, used to say, avoid the ways of the herd. But it will require us to move from ignorance to mastery. We have to get out of unconscious incompetence. It's what we've been doing since we were born. We have to move to a place where we come to understand that we don't know what we don't know. Then we know that we don't know. And then through help, through assistance, through modeling the correct examples, we come to a place of gradually knowing how to know. But as Zig Ziglar says in his book, if we want to achieve mastery at anything, it must move from unconscious or conscious to the unconscious realm. It becomes second nature. And we just need to look back at a few things, such as when we were first learning to drive a car. There was a point when we couldn't understand all these different levers, and for those of us that can actually drive manual or clutch vehicles, when to keep balance the clutch and mash the brakes and this and that. Now we do this unconsciously. And so it is that the cave we fear to enter holds the treasure we seek. On the other side of unconscious incompetence is unconscious competence. But there is a process. There are no elevators. There are only steps to the stairs of success. Because everything is changing. And guess what? Again, the question is, are you willing to change what you do by changing what you know? I only found out on Saturday or thereabouts that I would need to make this presentation on behalf of Emerald, Professor Sam Lal Singh, as I like to call him. And because I have done this presentation a few times well, I was able to say no problem. We need to change what we do by changing what we know. And this is going to be a lifelong challenge for as long as we remain on this planet. Because this deep shift that was first identified by the World Economic Forum back in 2019 has only just begun. We have to recognize that the future is already here. And as I like to point out in this presentation, so sure, 10% of people wearing clothes connected to the internet by 2025, which is 5 years away or less, by the way. I continue to marvel at this business of the first AI machine on a corporate board of directors. So at some point in time, we are going to have an artificial intelligent machine directing or giving directions on corporate governance through a corporate board of directors. And this will just cascade eventually to people being managed and supervised by artificially intelligent machines. And what is driving all of this? What is driving all of this is the confluence and convergence of emerging technologies, artificial intelligence and information technology, big data, the Internet of Things, and right in the intersection is the blockchain or distributed ledger technology. What are some of the skills that we will need to thrive in the fourth industrial revolution? What are some of the skills? Well, according to the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report, the top 3 skills: complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity. In 2015, 5 years ago, it was complex problem solving, so note that has not changed. coordinating with others, and people management. We are now moving away from people management. And those of us who will continue to be relevant in the landscape must be capable of thinking critically, bringing creativity consistently to the table in an attempt to solve complex problems constructively. Creativity will become one of the top 3 skills workers will need. The question is, what are we doing to sharpen and continue to deliver creatively? Because the financial services and investment sector will be one of the areas that is yet to be radically transformed, but it will be. Those working in sales and manufacturing will need new skills, such as technological literacy. It will simply become increasingly impossible not to be technologically literate, computer literate, any of those terms or acronyms. And out of this came this thing called fintech. So in June of 2017, I gave a speech rather, 2 months after being an IME. I gave this speech at a Toastmasters club meeting. I forgot to mention in my bio that I am an avid Toastmaster. I recently completed my Distinguished Toastmasters program in July after 9 years of diligent effort. And in that speech, which I gave in an attempt to better understand this whole thing that I became a part of, and there are so many more features now that did not exist then, I realized that $40 TT dollars, 2 purple KNights, as my mother likes to call them, of Bitcoin, which would have bought 63 at the time if it was bought in 2009 at 10 cents US, was worth almost 150,000 US dollars at the time of the speech. There were only 850 cryptos at a market cap of just over 80 billion US. As of August 23rd, this is 2 days ago, a day ago, the same 63 Bitcoins bought in 2009 was now worth 731,000 US, an almost 5-fold increase. There are more than 6,530 cryptos, and the market cap has also appreciated by more than 4 times. This is something worth paying attention to, fellow OneLifers, fellow OneAcademites, persons listening for the first time. You need to pay attention and move your mind around this, because as we can see, with the movement of time, we are seeing significant value increase in this particular space. And to think that Bitcoin was never intended to be a crypto asset. In fact, it was merely intended to be a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash. This was its original intent, that would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. And let's be clear, the financial institutions are coming up to speed very, very, very rapidly in this area. More about that as we progress. And this movement, as we can see from the references, has been an ongoing exercise, going all the way back to 1980. We hear about Merkle trees. That's named after R.C. Merkle, who put out a paper, Protocols for Public Key Crypto System, back in April of 1980. We have always been on this march to where we are now. And according to Moore's law, this is doubling at an exponential rate now. What is the blockchain? What is this distributed ledger technology? What's all the fuss? Well, as part of my due diligence, I went to Investopedia.com. I leaned or did not lean to my own understanding. And I decided, let me do my own due diligence. So In the investopedia.com website, you will find that, among other things, blockchain is the record-keeping technology behind the Bitcoin network. Blocks on the blockchain are made up of digital pieces of information. The chain is the public database. Blocks store information about transactions. So it started out as being date and time and participants and dollar amounts. It has now mushroomed in the areas of supply chain, in the areas of tax records, in the areas of voting, as in Estonia. We are hearing a lot of talk now on political and public governance platforms about digitizing and so on. These are elements, without saying it, of a blockchain-based system. Blockchains can be centralized or decentralized, public or private, and they can even be a hybrid of these. Because we must realize, since the financial services sector is yet to be radically transformed, the only difference between these two notes that we are seeing here is that we believe one has more value than the other. And we're going to see some things about value with respect to the note on the left-hand side later on in the presentation. The note on the left-hand side is a representation of fiat money. It has no intrinsic value, and it is not backed up by the equal value of a commodity. Earlier US dollar notes were, prior to Executive Order 6102 and so on, introduced by President Roosevelt, that basically made this legal tender due to government decree. But it has some very unfortunate side effects and allows itself or lends itself to quantitative easing, to inflation, and to an increase in the number of dollars in circulation. It is for these three reasons that we find that $100 today, in whatever currency you have, purchases less today than it did last week, than it did last month, than it did last year, and that it did 5 years previously. Google Bitcoin for a different set of rules. I dare say, come on to the OneLife system for a different set of rates. Investopedia.com also provides some definitions for quantitative easing. It is an extraordinary form of monetary policy. All of this I learned as a consequence of doing the due diligence. We must get to a place where we understand these things, because central banks can quickly increase the domestic money supply, ostensibly to spur economic activity. It is also called money printing, and it usually involves the central bank purchasing longer-term government bonds, such as mortgage-backed securities. We must recognize that in March of 15th of 2020, the Federal Reserve, which is the Central Bank of the United States, announced a $700 billion QE program to backstop the US economy against the coronavirus. I am very certain that it is several times more than this, because of the indecent haste to keep the economy from going into a recession, to keep things going, as I think one of the economic advisors mentioned, and of course, to further devalue an already devalued currency. Much of this will be eliminated, if not significantly curtailed, as a consequence of a cryptocurrency blockchain-based system. And it is for this reason that I think it has been fought against so virulently. Inflation, that's one of the other things that was talked about with respect to fiat currency. Inflation, it is an indication that money or currency has lost value. Hidden Secrets of Money by Mike Maloney is a very useful set of videos. I encourage each and every one of us to go check them out. Inflation, it is too much currency available compared to the items we need or want. It is the result of increasing government borrowing. It benefits a few and steals from the future. The few that it benefits are those who are closest to the newly printed money that is borrowed and put into circulation. Please look up Richard Cantillon and the Cantillon effect for further explanations, because we cannot and will not and have never been able to outrun inflation with an income earned in a shrinking currency. This is what I was referring to with respect to the dollar, to the note on the left. In 1913, when the Federal Reserve was established, a dollar was a dollar. By the time it got to 2013 and beyond, it was effectively worth 2 cents. I'm not sure how much lower one can get from 2 cents. What does the OneLife network, what does the OneLife organization have to say about all of this? Well, cryptocurrency is digital money. So, okay, we saw that. That uses a blockchain technology. Yes, we understand that. Cryptocurrency for cryptography, for security and anti-counterfeiting. The value of the currency is not based on any country or central bank. The value is dependent on supply and demand. Good old economics. It behaves more like gold or silver. By the way, only recently did Mr. Warren Buffett take a position in gold, something that he had never done before, and is on record as saying is not or has no match to the American economy or the muscle of the American economy. It is interesting that even those gentlemen at that level can make conscious and calculated decisions. I've just come out of a meeting on risk and reward. These guys, Warren Buffett, etc., understand risk and reward. We await when he actually decides to get on to the cryptocurrency train. The evolution of currency. We started with a barter system. And this is also called counter trade in other parts of the world and is used to address those countries who have foreign currency challenges. From the barter system, we went to gold coins. Gold coins became heavy. Gold coins became risky. The reward was not worth the risk anymore. And they were then supplanted by paper currency. Started out as receipts for gold and represented and were to be backed by an equivalent of gold or a percentage. Then they became backed by nothing. That was then supplanted by card systems as we were steadily moving towards digital systems. I can still remember the days when my uncle had an 8-track cassette player. We are now on MP4s and MP3s. And of course, we are at the stage where we are 6,530 plus cryptocurrencies with more to come. What then is a cryptocurrency? We've heard OneLife talk about it. We've heard it mentioned elsewhere. What is it? Again, using Investopedia.com as a reference, it is a digital or virtual currency secured by cryptography. It is considered to be a new form of digital asset based on a network that is distributed across a large number of computers. This decentralized structure allows them to exist outside the control of governments and central authorities. Many cryptocurrencies are decentralized networks based on blockchain technology. Many cryptocurrencies are decentralized networks based on blockchain technology. This is important because this, and especially there are those that are centralized under the control of an organization, as in the OneLife, and there are those that are not. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. We will learn more about this in future presentations. Why is all of this important though? And I looked at this article from Caleb Silver, again, Investopedia.com, entitled The Battle for a Cashless World. And I first started hearing about cashless or contactless when the lockdown was in full effect in March, April of this year. PriceSmart had this announcement going on the public address system about the use of cashless or contactless payments. I had known about this since a year, if not more, before. So Mr. Silva is recounting his experience in the money conference of 2018, and he spent 30 hours there, yet to take out his wallet. And it's not that he hadn't spent any euro, he did. It's just that Europe is miles ahead of the US on the road to a cashless society. And this is probably why, in its wisdom, the OneLife network uses the euro and not the US dollar. Believe it or not, there are some countries that do not accept US dollars, if they accept any paper or fiat currency at all. Contactless payments are nearly 70% of the market in Europe and growing fast throughout Asia and other continents. What about us in the Caribbean, closer to home now? Regional fintech milestones. And this information that I'm sharing here can be found at the Trinidad and Tobago International Financial Center website, which I took some time to look up and take pictures and in order to create this presentation, some of which I have shared in other fora. In early 2016, BIT launched a digitalized Barbados dollar. This is 2016. Let's move on to 2019. Securities Commission of the Bahamas released draft legislation for the issuance and sale of digital tokens. Again in 2019, the Jamaica Stock Exchange signed an agreement with BlockStation to enable live trading of digital assets. And then in 2019, BIT and the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. So we have central banks previously putting out warnings and advisories against it. Now, just last year, they're signing a contract to conduct a central bank blockchain issued digital currency pilot. But this, of course, is in the Eastern Caribbean. What about in the country of Trinidad and Tobago that boasts or seeks to boast or bid to be the financial capital of the Caribbean? In 2016, WePay was founded, but it took until 2018 for the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago to issue its e-money draft policy. In 2019, a major financial institution acquires a 20% stake in WePay. What is it that they know or knew that we are still struggling to get out to the wider population? And for those persons to understand, embrace, and get their minds moving to get on this train before it leaves the station. It is the central bank that has discovered that 29% of the population is unbanked. This is not new information. We also know about this as a worldwide phenomenon. That means that if our population is 1.4, 1.2 million, 1.5 million, let's use 1.5, 1/3 or 500,000 persons, nearly 500,000 persons are unbanked. But I am certain they have a cell phone, they have internet connectivity. The two things necessary to be able to access what we offer in the OneLife ecosystem. 64% of all credit and debit card transactions are done at point of sale terminals. This means that fiat is not really in vogue as much as we perhaps might think. I've been talking a lot about OneLife and why OneLife, OneLife this, and OneLife that. Well, 1 million members, and this is in China. Of the 3.5 and growing million members in the more than 194 countries where OneLife already is functional. I still marvel at the pin drop silence, crickets or deer in headlights look that I saw when I mentioned, how could we continue to talk about a Forex challenge if there is already a platform and system that enables trade and e-commerce and economic activity to occur amongst 194 countries in the world? It is a question that is yet to be answered, because this is part of the mission of the OneLife network, to enable a global community of web users, to increase the quality of life of members, to provide alternative and equal access to practical and relevant financial education. Without a vision, without knowledge, without somebody to teach, without somebody to preach, the people will perish. And where there is that knowledge, where there is that education, a natural evolution will be ignited. Eyes will be opened to see the opportunities for economic growth and the creation of new market opportunities that may not have existed previously. So then education is at the heart of the company. It has nothing to do with tokens. It has nothing to do with coins. We don't sell tokens. We don't sell coins. We sell education. Is it not written in that great book, in all thy getting, get understanding? Wisdom is the principal thing. All of these have some root or some basis in education, or the drawing out that which exists. And so in its wisdom, education is the heart of the company. What is OneAcademy? I'll let our founder tell you.
The OneAcademy is the heart of our company. Cryptocurrency is not an easy product. It's a very innovative product based on technology and based on very, very complex concepts. For us to be part of this financial revolution, to be part of cryptocurrency and of a community, we need to understand exactly what we do and what we talk about. And this is why we have the OneAcademy. The OneAcademy provides you with concepts, provides you with explanation on cryptocurrency and on the financial world. I would encourage everybody to join the courses, to do the certificates, and to understand thoroughly how to use cryptocurrency, what cryptocurrency is, and how we can change the world by using cryptocurrency. OneAcademy. Learn today, lead tomorrow.
It is indeed so unfortunate that Dr. Ruja Ignatova has had to take these extreme measures to preserve herself, to preserve her life, and to preserve her liberty. Because indeed, what she has just said is factual. How could we have learned? How could we have led anyone, starting with ourselves? Because many of us say that we don't have anybody to lead, but that's not true. We lead ourselves first. And how could you have led yourself if you didn't learn what was required? We must learn today if we are to lead tomorrow. And we must continue to learn today if we intend to stay relevant in leadership tomorrow. And so this screen is what we will see for those of us who have gone into our OneAcademies, level 1 or level 2 or beyond. And these are some of the areas that are covered. Introduction to finance, money and the monetary system, and it goes all the way up to behavioral finance and risk management. Risk management is a topic that can be found in quality assurance. It can be found in health, safety, and environment. It can be found everywhere. Forex, fundamentals and trading strategies, and we will also talk about the legal courses. It is amazing, that statement, out of evil cometh good, how factual that is, because the legal courses developed out of the enthusiasm of some IMAs in the promotion and explanation, I would say, of the OneLife system, the OneLife opportunity, the OneLife network. So it started with a very basic course. This first level, the inductee, that contains information needed for every beginner in the legal cryptocurrency world. And it goes all the way up to level 4, the most advanced of the legal packs, DUAS across. It gives a very good understanding of the integration of the cryptocurrencies with the banks. And I have already said, especially those of us who may be familiar with the software T24, this area is actively researched, studied, and being quietly contributed to by the banks and the financial institutions. Let us not be ignorant and be caught with our heads in the sand. They are developing the frameworks for the compliance systems and tax regimes. It is the next frontier as we move towards legislation catching up with innovation. The topics covered by the legal packages. Again, the legal definition of cryptocurrency, types of crypto systems, legal implications for the regulators, coming all the way through to compliance systems in the tax regime. Each level contains information about 6 jurisdictions and 6 significant jurisdictions: Italy, Germany, Belgium, Bulgaria, Sweden, and Norway. We await the information arising out of the US jurisdiction, for we are certain, at least I believe so, that that is inevitable. This is an area that, of course, is known by experts and very solid persons in the US. They are just waiting for the legislation to allow for it to come to fruition in a way that perhaps would allow the US to benefit more than they currently do presently. Wouldn't it have been great at 5 years or 12 years old to have had something called Finance for Children? I certainly did not have this benefit, and it probably would have led me, had it been available, to make considerably different choices as I became an adult. Is it not said that we believe the children are our future? Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. This would assist with that, because it is indeed true that we would all want to leave a legacy, an inheritance unto our children's children. This is important. And we as adults can still learn a lot from what is conveyed in the Super TED series. So when I look at all of these things, and I have to, and in answer to the question, why OneLife? It is the first cryptocurrency to store Know Your Customer KYC documents on its blockchain. It is the first. Others have copied this now as part of their systems. But for all the criticism and so on that OneLife and OneCoin has faced, there were many things that were added to other people's systems that arose out of the understanding and appreciation of what our founder brought to the table through this platform. It is tailored for future-proof mass transactions. The OneCoin blockchain can perform more transactions than global credit card providers. We await when those significant card providers begin to adopt and are completely convinced and comfortable with aligning themselves with this particular network. It's just a matter of time. So OneLife is more than a cryptocurrency. It's an ecosystem, and an ecosystem is yet another buzzword, just like headwinds and many of these things, management by objectives and so on. So the OneAcademy already exists. The OneLife network already exists. The Deal Shaker, which we'll talk a bit about, already exists. OneForex is already in place. One World Foundation is already in place. And the mobile application builder is already available to those of us who have packages. There continues to be a lot of discourse, a lot perhaps maybe even disquiet around the OneCoin exchange. But don't we already have a means by which we can exchange our coins directly for goods and services? I think it's called the Deal Shaker. Does that mean that a OneCoin exchange will not come to fruition? I certainly think one will come to fruition. But in the same way that all companies bringing out new products, bringing out new services, must carefully consider the environment, the power of buyers, the power of suppliers, the industry rivalry, the threat of potential entrants, and so on. This is an exercise that the company in its wisdom has looked at and has found that the conditions to support the OneCoin exchange are not yet available. When they are, they would be more than ready to roll this out to the benefit of each and every one of us, IMAs and non-IMAs alike. So why OneCoin? Why ONELIFE? From 2015 to 2020, there's been a steady appreciation in the value. This is one of the first entities or first items where something increases in value, conversely to the fiat, which has steadily decreased in value. That's another reason for why OneLife. Usability. I alluded to this just now when we talked about the exchange. We use phones, we use vehicles, we use a lot of things. Why did we buy them? We bought them for their utility, for their usability. Were they not usable, either in terms of aesthetic appeal or functional appeal, then we perhaps may not have bought them. The deal shaker provides the usability for the coin. It continues to be one of the most significant and strongest platforms that exist, even if it is not well known in the Western world. It is the biggest global cryptocurrency e-commerce platform where products and services can be advertised. One can spend ones on exciting deals, no pun intended, be they products, travel, services, home and auto, entertainment and hobby. I can still remember a former member having had his teeth done at a dentist and used ones to accomplish that service. I personally await the opportunity when I can rebuild my house with the ones that I have obtained through participating in the mining process, renting a house with those ones while that construction occurs, and all the while not having to do exactly what the Bitcoin setup was originally intended to do, and that is to complete or have an exchange of value without going through a financial institution. Who can sell in the deal shaker? Registered companies can do it. Individual sellers can do it. I have sold as an individual seller. I have bought as an individual seller. So I know that it works. I don't need to be convinced, and I don't need to read things that keep talking about it's a scam. Stop criticizing and maligning. Store crypto and make yourself better and move your mind to a new place. This is what we need to do. Who is cryptocurrency helping? It's helping those that are seeking to preserve their wealth. You cannot outrun inflation by earning money or earning currency, earning in a shrinking currency. The US labor statistics put that out, not me. So therefore, something that is appreciating in value helps to protect wealth and therefore preserve the legacy that we want to leave behind onto our children's children. So cryptocurrency can help all of us because this picture from the US debt clock cannot. This is $26.672 trillion in debt. Let's look at some stats. Total debt to GDP ratio, 153%. Which institution would lend to you more money than you are actually bringing in? That's a pop quiz. I look forward to some answers. Perhaps you can put it in the chat. Can you imagine dollar to gold ratio, 30,726 per ounce, yet gold is still at only 2,000 US? What's wrong with this picture? But let's look at dollar to crypto ratio. Notice that this is 46.51. What does this mean? We are at 42.53. Worthy of exploration. This, of course, can be found on the www.usdebtclock.org, and there are others. We are making efforts to run down a currency in which the debt to GDP of the originator of that currency is 153%. Is this a right standard or example to continue to pursue? Remains to be seen. So if you are significantly convinced, or have you had your minds moved to make alternative arrangements in preparation for the coming financial rainstorm, here are some packages that you can consider. Get back with the person who invited you to this presentation and have them talk to you about what you need to do to get into one of these packages, educational packages. They do come with promotional tokens, which you are free to reject. And there are people who have rejected them. I'm not sure why. I certainly wouldn't do it, but that is your choice. Start where you can. Try to get one that is best for you and that would position you in the best way. So as we end today's session, Google some terms: fintech, cashless, cryptocurrency, and blockchain. I actually did a whole presentation to my club on these things. And it was amazing to see the persons who knew nothing about it. Just a little bit of research, and you quickly discover how much of an expert you suddenly become as you are able to command the attention of people who know nothing about these areas. And yet there's so much that is already going on as it relates to the status, to the development, to the advances in these areas individually and collectively as they intertwine. Get back with the person who invited you. Get to Zoom formation sessions and or get into the OneAcademy level 1 at least. Because, believe it or not, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Because you see a particular tree taking 5 years to grow 1 foot and then growing 90 feet in 60 days is an apt example that the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. What is being missed is the root structure that is being set up to propel the upward movement and development of that tree in the 90 days or in the 60 days. Have a super fabulous evening, everyone, and stay safe. And please, please get back with the person who shared this with you. You may very well discover that they have done more for you than you might have thought of and have done for yourself. I now ask for persons to chime in, perhaps make comments, perhaps give testimonies. Let's see who else is on this session. We have a total of 10 persons, and perhaps we can invite some comments from Mr. Rajesh Hardial. Mr. Hardial, please feel free to unmute your mic and tell us what you thought of the information shared today and how you have found this to have helped you personally. Okay, it seems like Mr. Hardial is not readily available. I see one of our Sapphires is online, Mr. Ashley Klein. A pleasant good evening to you, sir. Would you please grace us with some of your words of wisdom? Congratulations again to you, sir, on attaining that rank. Please let us know what is on your heart or in your mind to share with us this evening. Okay, Mr. Klein, will you be chiming in? Will you share some words of wisdom with us? All right, let's try Mr. Rajesh Hardial again. Pleasant good night, Mr. Hardial.
Hi, good night. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. The mic is yours. Please feel free to share what's in your heart and mind this grateful and gracious Monday evening.
Well, I think it took the words out of my mouth there. The words grateful and the words gracious, those two words that should be placed before cryptocurrency. Because I don't know how many new people have been in OneCoin, and I have a number of other cryptos. I have a diversified portfolio. I'm not fully diversified. I'm continuing to be diversified. But where it comes to OneCoin cryptocurrency, I just want to emphasize that this is where it begins. And where it begins is where it ends, because the education is key to diversifying into other areas. And if you don't gravitate towards the educational aspect of cryptocurrency, you've spoken about the legal domain, you've spoken about the financial domain, you've spoken about the traders domain, you've spoken about the e-commerce and the market domain. When we can educate ourselves in these domains, these are domains that we all grew up into without fully understanding it. And the understanding will come when we choose to educate ourselves on a platform that offers a full spectrum application of all these domains in the educational aspect of how we develop our lives. And I would like to encourage, I'm not sure who's on the call, if you're new people, if you're experienced people, if there are people who are already in OneCoin, if there are people who are already in other cryptocurrencies who are looking at what's going on in OneCoin, if there are people who don't know anything at all, make that first move, that first effort to get plugged in into this system where you self-educate with the assistance of not only the people who are on this platform tonight, but everyone who is connected to someone in the industry. Where the OneCoin education platform is concerned, I wanna say that when you mentioned earlier that we sell education and we don't sell coins, that is the first thing that people need to understand. And once we gain that basic understanding, we can then compound that basic thing and build on it so that we develop ourselves out of what's coming as a huge negative in our lives. We perceive the negative, but we don't react to it. And here is where we need to start that reaction. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. We want people to react to us, but we need to act first. And the act of self-education is what I would like to recommend to everyone who's listening tonight. That's it.
Thank you very much for those words of wisdom, Rajesh. We need to act on the education, and that is key. It is said that, or some quote, that knowledge is power. But in fact, knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power when it is used, when it is acted upon. And this, I think, is one of the key statements to take away from Mr. Hardial's comments. Thank you very much again for chiming in. I'm going to ask Mr. Donville Chaitan if he is close to his mic to chime in and make a comment or provide a contribution to share what's on his heart or in his mind with us this evening after the presentation delivered. Mr. Chaitan, are you there? Okay, Mr. Chaitan doesn't appear to be close to his mic. Let's try our Sapphire, Mr. Klein, Mr. Ashley Klein. We would be grateful to hear from you, sir. Okay, Mr. Klein doesn't seem to be available. Althea Bugros, pleasant evening to you. Would you care to share a comment with us? And I'm going to make one final attempt. Galaxy J2 Pro. Will you give us a comment, perhaps ask a question, give us some feedback on the presentation this evening? Okay, perhaps it was either very well explained or people are very shy on this Monday evening. If our admin or host is still present, I would like to return control of the proceedings to them. And if not, I would like to say thank you very much for attending this presentation, for allowing me to be the host and presenter for tonight. And I would encourage you to continue to be safe, continue to take all necessary precautions in the defense of yourselves and your families. We are seeing the second wave of the COVID-19. It's worse than the first. And we need to continue to do all that we have been told to do previously if we are to flatten the curve in Trinidad and Tobago and convert the risk-reward matrix in our favor. Thank you very much, and you continue to have a super fabulous evening and a glorious week ahead. Bye for now.